Welcome back to Dead Good Book Reviews and to another book review here on the channel. This is another rapid fire review where I try and review a book within 24 hours of reading it and then post it around about the pub date and probably have loads of stuff that I've forgotten to put in. It's probably fine. Today we are talking about Rachel Gillig's One Dark Window. One Dark Window is out on the 27th of September from Orbit Books, who sent me this for free. Thank you so much to them. Regardless of where books are coming from, nobody's paying me to talk about books and all opinions are my own. I'm going to keep this as spoiler-free as humanly possible while still talking about all the stuff I want to talk about. If you do want to go in knowing absolutely nothing, click away now, come back when you've read it, we'll chat then. And lastly, I will link the story graph for the book so you can check out any user-generated content warnings should you so need them. I'm gonna probably need to pick that up again in like 5 minutes, but it can stay there for now. Rachel Gillig is a, I believe, originally California-based author. It says born and raised on the California coast, so I assume she's still there. This is her debut, so we don't know a huge amount about her, but what I gleaned was that she has a dog, and I always appreciate a dog. How to describe this book, broadly speaking? It's a fantasy novel, and it is not YA, but I think if you're a person who has enjoyed YA in the past, you would find things to enjoy in this. It isn't a young adult book, it isn't a young adult protagonist, but in terms of tropes, ideas, and things, I think you can see roughly where I'm getting at there. I believe it has been compared to Naomi Novik's Uprooted, it's been compared to For the Wolf, and all the things that For the Wolf was compared to, and it's in that kind of vaguely enchanted, by which I mean like the verb descriptor? The adjective. Yes, rather than the film. Alas, how sad. A spooky season read will answer the question in this video, because I think that is part of the intention of this, is that this is kind of spooky thing going on. But let me tell you the plot. This is the problem with these videos. I don't have a script. I'm just winging it. So in this world, you can be infected by the mist that surrounds everything, and those who are infected cannot be permitted to just exist because they will become infected with bad magic, and the only magic that is allowed is through the use of Providence cards, which there are a finite number of, and the cards all do different things, and magic comes with a cost, and all of that stuff. We'll talk more about the magic system broadly speaking later, but basically, if you're infected with magic, no, that's bad. Elspeth, our main character, can you believe it, was infected with magic as a child, but seems to everyone around her to not have inherited any of the magical traits that would give you, so she's in hiding. But through circumstances of plot is the only way I can describe it, she ends up taking part in this big adventure with the royal family and various other people in order to try and collect all of the Providence cards in order to cure the kingdom, which is obviously under some kind of despicable, horrible, magical thing that's going on. However, for Elspeth, this is particularly pertinent as she has a nightmare living inside her. A monster of sorts that kind of seems like she probably shouldn't have that going on, so she wants to end this problem that she is specifically having, and if it benefits the kingdom at the same time, probably a good idea. Questing, adventure story, romance, fairy tale, fantasy. All words I could use to describe this. This is going to be a hard review to do for reasons I'll get into after I've done the positives. So, things I really enjoyed. I liked Elspeth as a character. I thought that she was perfectly serviceable. Probably a phrase I might use a lot in this review. I think that she does the job. She's not super annoying. She makes pretty decent choices, and I liked her kind of way of dealing with problems. Didn't feel super naive, but didn't feel unbelievably confident for somebody in her situation. She's a believable character, and I appreciate that. And I liked the way that her magic and her various situations going on with her played out throughout the book, and the exploration of that. I think she's a character who's going to be really, really interesting in later books in the series, which I'll come on to again a little bit later. I also thought that the magic system was pretty cool. I like a forbidden magic that some people have and some people don't. That's enjoyable. And the idea of the Providence cards I thought was very cool. One thing that's really key in this story is that magic comes with a cost, which is something we've seen before, but in this you have specific cards do specific things and cause specific knockbacks on the person, and you get to explore some of those throughout the story. So I thought that was very cool, and I maybe could have done with a page at the back. I'm just going to double check it doesn't have one, but a page at the back that just had all of them and a bit of an explanation. It does not. But maybe that's just on me to start paying more attention to my books. I don't know. So yes, I like that. I like magical artifacts in books. That's always something I enjoy. I like a magic system that's got reasonably strict rules. This is a little bit more loosey-goosey. There are some mind control elements, which I know some people really don't enjoy. I don't think it's as egregious as some other examples. If you really don't like mind control, you'd probably be okay, but it does exist in the world. I know sometimes I don't want that, so I tend to avoid it. This, it was perfectly fine. I also thought that the way that the story ramped up was really good. The pace really increases throughout the book. It's a bit slow to start, shall we say. It took a little while to get into the story, but the last 100 pages or so I was very much here for. This book definitely did the thing where early on I was like, great, gonna read this, gonna review it, it'll be gone from my life, I won't need to finish the series. I kind of want to finish the series. It got to an interesting place. I don't think it got to a surprising place, but it definitely was something that I wasn't 100% expecting. So I liked that, and I think that the romance in it is got good payoff, which, to be honest, if I'm not looking for something that's going to totally destroy my heart and soul, sometimes you just want, yep, I want that romance to happen, great, let's go. But having said all of that, I find this very difficult because when I'm reviewing books, if I have a lot of really good things to say about them, that's really easy. If I really hated it, that's really easy. This book kind of sits middle of the road for me. For multiple reasons. I think that it's not doing anything super duper special in terms of the setting, the characters, the tropes. It's all fairly familiar. Obviously, there are new things in there. It's not a completely identical copy of other books, which I have seen before. But it doesn't feel super new to me, at least not in book one. And I think that's something that sometimes comes from a debut. Not always. Sometimes they're incredibly unique, sometimes to their detriment. But in this case, I think you could feel that the story was being set up and this world was being set up, and there is a familiarity to it, and that it's kind of, in some ways, I don't know that this is true, but it feels like it was sold on what it was similar to, rather than on how it was unique. So for me, personally, I wouldn't say, as someone who's read a huge amount of fiction, and a huge amount of fiction that's very similar to this, that it totally blew my mind, and therefore I would much rather go and read something like Uprooted again than read this new. But I think that's always going to be the problem with having read a huge amount across this genre, is that sometimes you just hit things where you go, well, that's like this, but that's better. So I definitely felt that way up to maybe the 40 to 60% mark, and after that I was like, okay, no, I'm on board. I've got on board with these characters, I'm on board with all of this stuff, let's channel through to the end. And I think that's because when the stakes are higher, it's much more interesting. And early on, I wasn't super invested in the romance, I wasn't uber fussed about whether it happened. I didn't necessarily get the immediacy of the problem. I don't think that comes across early on enough, and the pacing of the book is a little bit weird as a result, because you're not quite sure what the end goal is, and whether it's going to be achieved in this one book. Are they going to find all the Providence cards in book one, or is this a series where they're collecting Providence cards? That wasn't totally clear from the beginning. Similar to other books I've read recently, like Notorious Sorcerer, like Genesis of Misery, I feel like as part of a whole, it's going to be really, really interesting, and it will be a really strong series, but just this book on its own isn't enough. And sometimes you get a first book and it completely stands on its own. You're like, great, fabulous. Either I want to read more or I don't need to read more, but I had a satisfying time with that. And I feel like this just was missing a little je ne sais quoi in the mix of it all. Like, I remember getting to the point where there was some payoff with a particular plot element, and I felt like it came way too soon. And admittedly, I was over halfway through the book. It was fine for it to be there, but I wanted another book of yearning and build-up, and it just... Maybe that's what I mean. There just isn't the build-up that this book needs for the stakes that are as high as they are. Other things that I would compare this to, I've already mentioned Uprooted, I've already mentioned For the Wolf. I actually felt very similar to how I felt with For the Wolf. I liked For the Wolf much less. If you'll remember, I just wasn't here for that series at all. But this is better than that, but it is... There's some similar things I could draw. Uprooted, I love, forever love. I've recently reviewed it. It's so good. Fantastic. I always recommend Bear and the Nightingale. Very different story from this, but when I'm talking about fiction that's set in the woods, I have to bring it up. It's the law. I'm trying to think if I've read anything else that was sort of similar in we must collect the things and do a quest. I wonder about something like... Was the Ivory Key questy? I have a vague recollection that it was, and I very much enjoyed that earlier in the year. That's the thing, I haven't read a huge number of that kind of book. I feel like there's something very nostalgic about, we must summon the 5 cards of the werewolf and bring them all together and unite the forces and all that stuff. I feel like there's been... that's been missing in my life recently. So in some ways, enjoyable if you like that element of it, if you like that nostalgia. And maybe we'll, in a cycle of getting back to that kind of book again. I really enjoy that. I like a quest, I like an objective, I'm a goal-driven person and I enjoy that. I'm trying to think what else I've had that's similar to that, but it's not ringing any bells for anything recently. I mean, arguably Ballad of Perilous Graves had that, but I didn't love that book. No, I don't know, and I don't have enough time to search through all of my shelves. So if I think of any afterwards, I'll pop them in the description for you. So yes, a nice quick one, because I honestly don't have that many strong opinions, but maybe when book 2 is out, I will do an update on this review and we will have more opinions and more things, because I really do feel like this series has potential and this author has potential. I would definitely read more from Rachel Gillig. There are other authors where I've read their first book and I go like, you're not for me. It's okay. I would read more from this. And I think if this is your starting point, there's plenty of room to grow. I think part of the problem is we've had some spectacular debuts that haven't felt like debuts recently. So my barometer for, oh, this is your first book and you're on your first step in this journey, it's a little bit off, perhaps. Have you read this? Do you have plans to? Do you have any fantasy debuts on your list for this year that you're super excited to either tell me about because you've already read them, or to tell me about because you want to read them and you're excited? Plonk all of that down in the comments below. While you're down there commenting, if you haven't already, please do subscribe. It makes me feel loved and appreciated. Nothing makes me feel more loved and appreciated than my patrons over on Patreon who support the channel and make videos like this possible. They also get early access to videos and bonus content if you would like to join their number. That's linked below, as is my Twitter and my Discord if you want to come have chill chats about books. Thank you so much for watching. That's all from me, and I will see you in the next one.
There's gonna be some bloopers now.
It's being rude. I should probably not say that.